Hello and welcome to Whisky Resource. My name is Mark. This is review 151 and this is the 8th blind dram from my 18-year-old whiskey showdown. Top of the leaderboard we have Glendronach 18. Second place we have the Dalmore 18. Two sherry influenced whiskies. Top of the leaderboard. Bottom of the leaderboard we have Glen Scotia 18, unfortunately. Do we have a new bottom? Do we have a new top? Do we have somewhere else? We'll find out today on Burns Night. So here we go. What is today going to bring? Get this poured in. Oh, that was a bigger pour. Oh well, that's the last of that. I normally pour in small pours, but that was a bigger pour. Into the hat, onto the floor, water. So the Glendronach 18, top of the leaderboard. I think a lot of people will be quite happy to see that there because it was a really nice, fantastic whiskey. £104 from Master of Malt, out of stock at the moment. I think the price is a bit too much for what it is. Whilst it is a very well priced 18-year-old whiskey, I think for what it offers as a sherried whiskey, you can pick up better value bottles that'll offer just as nice a nose and tasting experience. But on to today, what do we have on the nose? Well, this is an altogether different whiskey. It's more delicate, it's fruity, definitely. It's aromatic, a bit of floral going on there. It's suggested it's probably got more dominant of a bourbon maturation, possibly touch of ex-sherry, but I think it's more of a bourbon vibe coming off this one. Apples and pears, honey and vanilla, a touch of coffee. That is a really, really, really nice nose. I like that. That's pleasant in terms of ABV. 40 to 43, probably 40, but 40 to 43 on the palate. Cheers. So that is definitely sitting at 40 to 43 on the palate, edging 43. It's got enough oil to pass it off on the palate. It is fruity. The fruits are orchard fruits, so apples and pears. Maybe some peach is going on in there. Maybe some apricot as well. It's kind of a mashup between a Glenfiddich and a Glenlivet. Bit of a mashup between the two. I still think this is probably ex-bourbon mainly, but there could be a touch of sherry going on in here as well. It's got some oak, certainly on the mid palate towards the finish, which is a bit drying. It is bitter. There is some spice coming through on the finish, but the spice is quite subdued. Maybe the water would have opened that up a bit. Probably a little bit of pepperiness more than spice. But you're talking about the typical cooking spices. In terms of which one is it, I would say this is probably a Highland as opposed to a Speyside. If I was to have a guess as to what this could be, I'd say this could be the Glen Ord. We'll try it with the water. But I think that's Glen Ord. I had the Glen Ord 15 and one of their special non-age statement releases when I visited the distillery in November. And that just seems to me to match some of those characteristics. There's a bit of toffee going on there as well. Yeah. pretty much the same nose, in which case it'll be 40%. It's nice, it's a lovely nose. It's refreshing, it's juicy. A bit of that oak, I say, coming through. The oak isn't any heavier than it was without water. The spice has stayed the same. It hasn't actually changed the spice. I think it's just lifted those fruits, revealing a bit more apple and pear. Maybe a touch of juicy grapes. More grape juice than the grape itself. It's an easy sip of this. It's not mind-blowing. It's not... That is a tasty dram. In terms of what it's offering for its flavour, it's tasting more youthful than 18. I think the wood is giving the hint, the oak is giving the hint that it is a bit older, but it is pulling off a bit of a youthful vibe with its juiciness. As I say, it's a Glenlivet versus Glenfiddich kind of juicy vibe going on there. Let's find out what we've got. But I'm going with the Glenord. Oh, and I've dropped the bottle. Well, it was bound to happen. I said Glenord. It is the Lismore 18. So, I'm going to grab the bottle. Okay, so the sample that we've just done, you've seen, it was the Lismore 18. This is the tin that comes in. So this is a bottle I purchased just before Christmas from Master of Malt. So I have actually sent some of this as dram swaps recently. So there's a bit more out of the bottle than just the sample I tasted there. But this is my first tasting of this. If you pay attention to the postcode at the bottom there, that is the postcode of Glenfarclas. Of course, the producers of this, a company called William Lundy & Co. If you go to Company's House, which I mentioned previously in my 21-year-old review, one of the directors of the William Lundy Company is John Grant of Glenfarclas. This is a Speyside Single Malt Whisky. It is bottled at 43% ABV. If you go to Masters of Malt, where I picked it up, it retails for £37.36. It is out of stock right now. I never did say where this sat on the league table. Second place. Yeah, this is in second place. In terms of what they say about it, it is a 18-year-old single malt whisky from an undisclosed distillery, bottled for Lismore range and mystery in a bottle. It's light floral at first, followed by thick notes of chocolate and toffee, honey roasted peanuts, old oak and chewy caramels on the palate. Fruity sweetness develops on the finish. It is a very, very nice, very pleasant, very drinkable whisky, which for the price of less than £38 for an 18-year-old whisky is an absolute bargain. And if we were to consider the price of this versus the Glendronach, which is top of the leaderboard, now the Glendronach tastes nicer, but considering you can buy 2 bottles of this and have change for the price of 1 Glendronach, it's got to make you wonder what are you actually getting for your money. Are you getting a whiskey that's easy to sip, or are you going to get a whiskey that is really tasty? And as I previously mentioned, the Glendronach 18 is a very nice whiskey, don't get me wrong. But for what you're paying for the Glendronach 18, there are lots of other really good sherried whiskies of that type available. For half the price, you can buy 2 bottles of for the same price as 1 Glendronach 18. The Glendronach 18 is a well-priced 18-year-old whiskey. Compared to its peers, it is well-priced. But when you compare what it offers to younger sherried whiskies, there's not an awful lot in it. The 15-year-old Glendronach, I think it's about half the price, is equally as good in my mind. I think it's probably edges the 18 for me. So it makes you wonder, what are you paying for when you get an 18-year-old whiskey? The Lismore, is demonstrating that actually 18-year-olds don't necessarily need to be particularly expensive. And I suspect this is using refill casks. They don't say what casks are used in this, whether it be sherry or ex-bourbon, but I do think it's probably a mix of both. And I suspect there are several refills down the line. So yes, the Lismore goes second place above the Dalmore, and it's simply because it's a refreshing, easy to drink 18-year-old, and it's not going to break the bank. That for me easily puts it in second place. It does.